This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video.
Our goal this week is to finish the bow structure, and that means tabbing all these little panels and stuff in there that shape the bow. That's so that we can get to dry fitting the chamfer panels. So we'll have to kerf those first and then get a big team in on Saturday to try to lift them up there.
Yeah, it's going to be another hot week, but we will modify our times a little bit and we'll work through it. So let's get started.
As you've seen in some of our other videos, for us to get these long, big panels out, like the last two chamfer panels that we're doing right now, we have to take our gate apart here, but we made it to do that, and that's where an impact driver like our new one that we just got, Robust True, we can get these off of here. Easy enough. One has a screw in it. Okay. So we've got a little sag here going on with the chamfer panel, and before we glass the top and bottom here, we want to make sure that it's snugged up to these temporary bulkheads. So we're using our new impact driver here and getting some screws in here. So I'll just hold this up here, and where this line is, yeah, that's the 2x4 on the other side right there. Wow.
How high?
You'll see where the line is. Wait, look. There's a black line.
Oh, I can see the board. Now, can I have some fighting room?
So this has different speeds that you can set. We've set it on the slowest speed since we're just putting in screws right now. And it has a light that lights it up. That's nice.
That's my head.
If only it wasn't a wing of carbon in our way. Suck it. All right. Okay, now you're going to be going from this side, and you're going to go 7 rows in. So you're going to count dots: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Yeah.
and then the top one is 8 rows in. You know, ongoing saga about where the diesel and the water tank's going to be to help us keep the boat balanced from bow to stern. There was some discussion in the comments, a lot of it actually, and some very helpful ones in there. And one of them was talking about, more than one actually, we're mentioning that, you know, why not center the diesel tanks? And that way as they change volume, it's really not changing the balance of the boat. And at the time when I was answering those things, I was thinking about the plumbing and stuff, and we really couldn't put them here because of the shower and all the sink plumbing and all that stuff. But thinking about it further, I realized that we could put them here, and remember that the center of the boat is approximately right here, and it's where the center of the dagger boards are, and that's just about right there. And so what we could do is put the plumbing over here on this side for the sinks and the shower, and use the other side, which wouldn't be enough volume for our diesel, except I could use both of these right here, and we would have enough volume for the diesel, but it wouldn't affect the plumbing on the other side, and that would put this diesel very close to center of effort on this boat. So that would, even though the diesel would change volume, the balance of the boat wouldn't change. So what that would mean, though, is that we've just moved weight from up there back here, and that's problematic because our bow is already too light, and now we're moving more weight backwards. But if we took the water tank that was going to be here and didn't just move it forward where the diesel used to be, but even further forward on the other side of that bulkhead right there. So down in that area, it would move a lot of weight way forward, and that could be enough to offset the fact that this diesel moved back here. And what that would do for us is a lot of great things, because no longer would we need 2 water tanks, because the diesel changing the volume wouldn't change the weight balance of the boat. And so we would only need the 1 water tank, and that's a lot less effort from us in building and less cost as well. And there's some other things we get out of this. For example, that these diesel tanks are now closer to the actual diesel engine, so the run from the diesel tank to the diesel engine over there is going to be pretty short. Now we still have to bring the diesel from the other side of the boat across, but we already have those conduits in the engine compartment that we can bring the diesel line over from there, so that's no problem. It would still be a shorter run to get it over here by moving them back as well. So that's all beneficial. And then there's another advantage we would get as well, and that is that here, or up here, we can now put a physical gauge in here where you have an out and a high and low with a tube, clear tube between, and that will always show you the level of diesel in here, just in case our typical system for whether it's a float system, whether it's another system for checking the how much fuel we have, we could always do a manual check by just opening the hatch right there and just taking a look at the tube, and you can see visually how much fuel is in there. And so when we had the 3 tanks, there was no way to do that for all 3. But now, if we just have the diesel here, we can have that little visual right there, and we can put another one for the water right over there. Is also accessed by just lifting the hatch in front of it there, and we can see how much water there is. So that's another benefit. So I like that too. So there's a lot of good things there. There's just one problem, which is the weight. Is it balanced with the diesel here and the water forward? And for that, I've already contacted Schoenig. They took a look at what I suggested, and we're tentatively saying that looks pretty good, but they're going to run the actual program that checks the weight balance on the boat and will show, the real detail of where the balance of the boat is going to be. And if that works out to be pretty good, that's wonderful, then we'll do that. There's another thing we'll be able to get out of this. If I go forward up here, this is where that water tank's going to be. And what we could do is, it won't go all the way to the top here of the sides of that. It's much lower down than that. So that leaves a gap between the top where we have the bed, bottom of the bed, and where the actual water tank's going to be below it. And that's enough space to put the water maker right on top of it. And that's right where the water goes from the water maker in and out. So that would work out great. So that would be a nice place for water makers to go. And there are 2 water makers on our boat. There's going to be one at each water area. So there'll be one on top of this water tank and one on top of the water tank, on the other side over there. And right where the 2 water tanks are. Also, though, the water tanks here, the balancing system would go right through there and across to it. So that's no problem to insert that in there. So that would all work out. So really liking it. I'm liking it so much that I am worried that the balance won't be right, but we're going to move as much stuff forward as we can. So the 2 water makers are now going forward. All of the electronics, all the Victron equipment, all that stuff is also going forward up there. So we're moving as much weight forward as we can to try to get this boat balanced out without adding more weight to the boat. We just want to move weight that we already have in here. So that's the idea. Now, if it doesn't work out and the boat's just too light at the front, if we do this, we can go back to the 3 tank idea, and that will solve it. But I'd much prefer if we can put the diesel on this inboard side in the web here, and the water way forward up there and under the bed, basically down into the bilge area. So that's the new plan. We'll see if it works out. I'll let you know what Schoening has to say. We're back to a warm week, so we're hitting in the mid-90s this week, and so we have to get here early and get to doing all of our epoxy work, get it done by about noon, and then we work on other things that don't involve epoxy. in the afternoon. So this morning the first thing we're going to do is put the sole in here, which is the sail locker, basically, from our hatch up above. All our sail storage is here. So we got to get the sole in here. So that's over here. So just prepping this up. We've already sanded the whole thing, but just need to clean it up a little bit. Sanded in there as well. So we just need to clean that. Brian's already mixing the thickened epoxy. So we're about to stick this in. She's ready to go. Just get it up in the ready position here. And now I just got to clean the inside and we're ready to put it on. Okay, now I just need some epoxy and we'll get one more panel in here, a sole. With that accomplished, it was now time to glue in FCAB 3, which is one of the panels that we need placed in before we can get the chamfer panels up on the bow. Okay, so we're going to try to get epoxy, less on here, more on here, into the joints. Because the chamfer panel comes in an angle, so it leaves this little triangular area. So we're going to fill that like so. I'll smooth that out in a moment. In fact, I'll smooth it out now. And then later we'll put our cove on here once this is set up, and then our tabbing. First we're going to fill the gap. Okay. Okay, and then down below here, we can do the same thing. I've got a temporary sole board in here now, so I can stand. Something flat so those curvy bilges. Nobody wants to stand on a curvy bilge. A little bit thicker on the next one. This is gonna run through.
Top as well.
Yeah. We had these things all prepped yesterday because yesterday was warm in the afternoon, so we couldn't epoxy, but we got it all prepped, and so just today we've been going to town getting stuff epoxied on in the morning. So we've got all kinds of different ones done, including gluing in the full lengths of the two chamfer panels, and now we're going to tab all of these that are previously glued. And so The reason being is, again, it's going to be 98 degrees Fahrenheit, this in Celsius, so warm. And we're still below 80 right this second and still morning. So we're just epoxying and tabbing as fast as we can because, again, we're going to just have to cut off barely afternoon, I would say. So that's only another hour or hour and a half from now. It'll start getting above 84, and so we'll have to stop. So good news is because we prepped so much yesterday, we got a lot done this morning. Now, we're not done today. After we finish this stuff up and do lunch, we're going to come back and do some non-epoxy stuff. Again, we can prep for tomorrow, but we can also start kerfing the forward chamfer panels. And so we still got to figure out what pattern we're going to use on that. I have a couple of different boats who've done it different ways because there's a 1490 and a 1520 from Schoening being built that I've seen pictures of both of theirs. And they both did the kerfing completely differently. And one of them kerfed long stripes on the outside, and the other one did a grid pattern on the inside. So radically different approaches. We're still figuring out exactly how we're going to do it. So we'll work on that this afternoon. Okay, well, we're getting these on here, and 3 at a time. We got the ones over there, this one and this one. All of them before the dang temperature gets too warm. Okay, more tabs done. Today we're going to tab these ones in, which are same job we did on the other side. So over here, you see that we already pulled the peel ply out, so this came out very nicely. Nice and smooth everywhere. So we're going to do the same thing on that side over there. Once again, it's going to be another hot day in Southern California today. So we prepped as much as we could yesterday in the heat so that this morning we can just get straight to epoxy work before it gets too hot. By about noon, we're going to be done again. Let's drop that. I need something to put this in. Ready to rumble. While I've been doing this, of course, Brian's mixing the epoxy there. 2 more tabs done today. So we'll do the back sides of these tomorrow. We don't like to do the back sides and the front side because we're just dripping on ourselves and stuff as we're doing that. So we'll do that a separate day. The next up on our hit list is we're going to start extending the Bridgedeck sole outwards. Because I've mentioned before that this isn't the end of where this sole goes to. So these are support pieces that go over here. And we've already measured over to these marks right here. And so basically these sit in here like this. And that gives support to some of the extensions that we're going to be putting out on there. Now this one fits perfectly as it sits there already. We'll make sure that this is level using a level, but not all of them are that perfect. Some of these might have issues, and that's why we chose to do these after we put the Bridgedeck on, because as necessary we can make slight adjustments. And right now this is too high. It should be at the bottom of this right here. Of course there's a high spot on the epoxy right there, so we'll grind that down and see if this comes down. But if not, we can always take a tiny bit off the top and get this to be perfect so that the floor stays level and matches up to the bridge deck perfectly. So we're going to have to do tiny little adjustments on these as we go. So that's what I mean by slight adjustments. This first one was right. This middle one is pretty close, and this one here needs a little bit of work. So we'll go along all of these. Now that's not just on this side of the floor, but you know, over here, and then all the way up the sides here, even all the way up inside the cupboard here, this one right there that goes in over there. So we're going to be working on gluing these in first, and then once they're all tacked in with epoxy and they're set up, we'll come back and tab them all. When we finish adjusting all these pieces so they all now fit here perfectly in the right height and everything. So getting ready to start gluing them in so we can sand our surfaces. Now, once we get these glued in place, then we're going to put the piece that goes on the other side of them all the way down. Once that's glued to these on the back side here, there's a board that goes from the chamfer panel up. Once that's all in, then we can go through and tab all of that and get this piece of floor very rigid, so that we can start extending this deck out. Well, this particular area that I'm in right now, we don't walk on this part of the deck. You can see right here where this ends. There's a seat right here. When you lift the seat, this is storage down into the seat. And then behind the seat, there's a wall right here. And this piece of sole and the part I'm going to extend it is the bike garage. So this opens up and we can stick 4 folded smaller bikes, you know, inside of here. And that gets them out of the way, close to the stern there when we need them, but not out on deck getting salt water on them, stuff. They'll be enclosed inside of here. So it's not a huge amount of space, but it's enough to get 2 folded bikes here and 2 behind them over here, so we can get 4 in here. That's the theory, but we have to find bikes that'll fit. We haven't bought those yet because it makes no sense to do that. It makes much more sense to build your garage, measure the garage, and then make sure you buy bikes that fit in your garage. Garage is a big word for this cabinet, but that's what we call it, our bike garage. Thing is that most boats don't have a dedicated space for bikes. From other boats that I've seen out there, they end up putting them in the forepeak a lot of times, storage up there. Our forepeak is spoken for because we've got our workroom up there and all the spare parts and all the sails. So we really don't have any room up there for bikes. And there's really nowhere else large enough. There are a couple of fairly large areas with a hatch there, but that's where our dive compressor is on one side. And we just have a lot of things already planned for those 2 spaces, so that really can't fit the bikes there. So that's why when I did the design of this boat, I made this bike garage, because initially this seat was here, and I moved it outboard, or inboard I should say, inboard, to make room for this bike area. But that wasn't the only reason for that. That also expanded the helm seat over. So our helm seat is 6 feet, or this in centimeters, but it's 6 feet long, that helm seat. And so the idea was that we could get 3 people, you know, could sit up on that helm seat, or technically you could lay down on it. It's pretty long. So I wanted that big, large helm area with the seat and stuff, because I really feel that the helm is a key social area on a boat. And whenever somebody's on watch, they can sit up in that area with all their instrumentation, great view around the boat and all that stuff. But they don't have to be alone because there's space up there that somebody else can come up there with them and look at the chart plotter, or just talk about things, or enjoy the view all the way around. So it's its own social area. And with the area in front of it that you have for the sail handling, people can also come up there and stand. So you could have up to 6 people up in the helm area if you wanted to be discussing, you know, the route and different things up there. So it's a nice little area, but I took it from the original design, which was fairly small area up here. It was right up against the bulkhead and just a small seat, and expanded into that 6-foot seat and that big line handling area. So I vastly increased the size of the helm space just to make it more comfortable and social area. So that's sort of what we're dealing with here, is the bike garage, which is under the expanded helm. So Brian's mixing up some thickened epoxy right now. I'm all cleaned up, ready to roll. I didn't clean these boards yet, but I gotta do that right now. I cleaned where they're gonna go. Let's get port sides cockpit. BD Web 19 on. Got all that? I'll come back to you when I see how much epoxy I have left over. Got to get these gates open because we're going to have to kerf our forward-facing bow chamfer panels. So let me get the right way here. There we go. Okay. So we made the decision finally that we are going to kerf a section of this right here where this point is, and to either side some. So unfortunately, where we're at on the side of the shipping container here, it doesn't quite come out far enough for us to put this over. So we have to open the gate up over here so that we can take it a little bit out that direction, and then we'll put some sawhorses and stuff and set this first of the chamfer panels up there so we can kerf it. So the Schoening boat being built over in Australia has given us pictures, and they have this exact same panel, and we're going to go ahead and go with what they did. Looked like it curved in there pretty nicely, and so they went basically 6 divisions between here and here, and at this angle that you see here, and then perpendicular to that they went about every 6 centimeters in thinner strips this direction. And so we don't want to reinvent the wheel. It worked for them, so we're just going to do that. We've already got the 6 divisions across here are marked, and now we're going to mark all the smaller ones perpendicular to that. As you can see, I got my cool hat on. That's because it's going to be 95 again today. This is Celsius, so hot. And we're in the afternoon already, so it's already hot. We did all our epoxy work this morning, finishing up the tabbing on those front webs that we showed you in the last video and earlier in this video. So we didn't film any of that because showed you plenty of that. But those are all tabbed in now, so they're all ready for these panels, which is why we're here kerfing this, because it's time. Okay, so as you can see, the kerfing lines end here and over there, and that's because this is the section that goes through the big twist and curve that it has to go through. That end piece down there is fairly straight, and the same thing up here. This has a bit of twist to it, but it's only on one axis, where this one here is twisting and turning, so that's why all these curved lines in here. Now, we don't want to cut these down too deeply here, because this becomes really floppy, and we've got to move this and hold it up in the air and all kinds of stuff. So we're only going to go barely more than halfway down this time, so that this still has some stiffness to it for moving it around and while we're holding it up in the air and things. So that's what Brian's doing now, is he's setting up the depth of the saw to just barely more than half of the width of the board. Out of battery already, huh? Oh, we're taking a heat break because it's hot, and we're about a little more than halfway. And it's just on this direction. We have to cut this way, but there's not as many cuts that direction. Our reward for completing this will be to do the other one. Getting near the end of the first row here, but our problem is we're running out of batteries. Nope. That's it. Out of batteries. So now we're going to take a break and let some battery charge. Okay, well, we've kerfed our chamfer panel, and this is our first dry fit. So we've got a bunch of people here to try to lift it into place. That should be exciting.
Gary, how close are you to the end of the other green board? Just about an inch past.
How, inch past?
Yeah, right,
That's too far?
right from here, it looks correct.
Okay. So let's see if we can get it up there and see what it looks like. Are we sitting on the boat somewhere?
Not quite.
There we
I don't mind where it'll fit you trying to get.
You gonna go your what, Terry?
His board's there, but about a quarter inch.
Quarter inch to towards Terry. Is that too much, Terry? You went too far, of course. Tap it. Just tap it back. Go ahead, tap your end. Just tap it. There you go. If you come out right here, Brian, you just hold right there. It'll.
I think I moved a little bit. I'm saying I got it up on top of the
No,
ledge.
it's okay.
And it's,
Yes, we have to trim it. We knew it was. That's why this is a dry fit.
okay. Okay, so this has to get trimmed back to there.
Now, don't go anywhere. Let me see where we're at on this as far as trimming goes.
Things need to be a little bit lower there.
I'm gonna have to climb on this table and see where the story is here. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I've got this deck. Okay, we're gonna come down onto the table. We'll just have to get low, Brian. Okay, swing yours over, Jeff. All right, I'm happy enough with that. It'll be fine.
What about
We
this
still
over
got the
here?
other one laying flat.
It'll be all right.
We wanna-
That doesn't have any curves in it. It's not going to do anything. What I want to do is come over there and see some of those measurements with you. Just a second. Well, we mostly finished our work for this week. We got one of the chamfer panels dry fitted up, but that took our big crew on Saturday to lift that up there, and we found out that there's a bit of work we need to do to trim that. Of course, we also got the other chamfer panel already all curved, so it's ready to go for its dry fitting. So we got pretty far along.
Yeah, and the part that needs to be trimmed, the good news there is that the panels are oversized, so we just have to cut back a couple of inches on the curved edge and about a ½ inch off the back top edge.
Right, and we'll have to wait until next Saturday to do that because we need our big crew back in again on Big Crew Saturday. And because we're going to have to trim it this week, and then they'll lift it up. No doubt it won't still be right. We'll bring it down, trim it some more, bring it back up again. But since it's all curved and everything's ready to go, we can get right to that so we can take it up and down a few times and get it adjusted in. And of course do the other side as well. But we've got other things to do during the week before that Saturday. We're going to put the side hull pieces on that connect to the deck piece. And we'll get those all tabbed in, and we might even tab the whole length of the boat deck to that side hull piece. So lots to do. But thank you all for coming by and spending some time with us. And thank you to all of our patrons who really help this project with their donations. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you to everyone who joins us. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
We'll see you next week for part 2 of the forward chamfer panels and some other work, of course. See you then.
Bye.